Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. I'm your host, your man, your brother from another mother, A.D. Walker. Let's see, forgot a location. There we go. Save. I appreciate you guys rocking with us and hanging with us. Another edition, my podcast people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part. I do not take it for granted. We are going to have a great conversations. Blessings, Lisa. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part and always hanging out with us. So we're going to have a great conversation today. I'm going to dig into a space that I've never really totally covered. And we kind of tipped on it yesterday. And talking about women being covered, and not only just covering your wife as a husband, but covering family, covering your community, and what does it look like. So we're gonna dig into that. Did a little bit of YouTube digging and blog digging. It's very little about it, so we're entering a different kind of space. But coming to the stage right now, all the way from Georgia, my brother from another mother, Pastor Brian McCory Sr. Yes, indeed. Happy Friday. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yes, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for hanging out with us. All right.
Hey, Deborah.
In the building. Make sure you share. Sharing is caring. This is your opportunity. Tag somebody. Tag a brother. Tag a sister. Let them know that BOL is in the building.
Tag your nephew.
Here you go. Tag a nephew. Tag an uncle. Tag a cousin. Tag an enemy. Just let them know we're all here. We're here. So today's topic, should men cover every woman in their circle who's uncovered? So we're going to dig into that and see how would that look? What does that look like? And we got some other folks coming on. What else can I share real quick before I hit this intro? Oh yeah, as always, stay a part of our community. Join our community. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576. And find out all that Legacy Walker Network is doing. So text LWN to 84576. Be a part of that as well. And listen, if you've not listened to the podcast of Brothers of Legacy, make sure you do so and share it to other people. That definitely helps us as well. Spreads the word, spreads the message. Because sometimes people don't come on live. People don't really watch YouTube as much, or they always on the move. So listen to the podcast helps as well, and it spreads the word, spreads the message. So share that. Just put the Brothers of Legacy in any podcast app. We're pretty much on all of them, and you'll get an opportunity to share that broadcast as well. So do so. And if you already hang out with us, rate and review on the podcast. That'll help our ranking as well. All right. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Yeah, I'm just going to get started. Let's see. Splickety splow, bang. I didn't want to catch that. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Good morning, everybody. This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. Ready to go live? Go to bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. That's bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. This episode is also brought to you by self. Build credit now. Go to bit.ly/now build credit. bit.ly/now build credit. Now build credit. All right, I just turned my fan on. Hopefully you guys don't hear it. I mean, I'm connected directly to my mic, so I can hear, of course, everything. Hopefully it's not too bad. Okay. All right. Okay, I think he's ready. Okay, I think he's ready. Snacking a little bit. He's snacking. Coming to the stage right now, all the way out of some county in Florida. Mr. Reparations, Mr. Ephraim Terrell. Yeah.
What it do, man? Shout out to Broward County. How y'all doing?
Awesome.
Happy Friday, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thank y'all. It's good to see some people.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's see. Hey, Mama McCory. Great morning
Mom.
to you.
Hey, Mom.
All right. Let's see. So today. So did you read that question I sent when I told you about the link?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean that's not going to be all, but
Yeah.
that's kind of the heaviest part of it. So we ended the conversation yesterday talking about covering women, and I threw up an example of if I was to pass, like I was thinking who would come at least. I mean, biblical days, my brother would marry my wife, and probably have two wives, back in the day, so that she's not uncovered. But we're 2021, there are laws. We just don't operate like that anymore.
It didn't work out that good back in the day.
Right. I can imagine. It probably one of the best systems. It probably, let's keep it real. They probably dealt with it because it was the law and that's what they did. But it's like, I don't even like that dude. So how would someone else covering my family, what would it look like? Because we know my initial passing, whatever happens, people be around at the funeral. Hey, what can I do? What can I do? I'm here. But let's talk months down the line or a year later.
Yeah.
Because everybody got to go back to their lives. Everybody has to go back to their routines and they're taking care of their family. Like we talk like, Pastor would call. He would be there like, hey, you good, sis? You good? And I know Minister Fletcher and some of the guys make this, hey, you good? But for the most part, like a genuine cover. And of course, we know that covering, for covering to happen, there has to be a willingness on the lady or, my wife or any lady to kind of accept the covering as well.
Because Sam ain't having it.
Right.
What you mean, my groceries? I can get my own groceries. Like, all right.
It would, she may, if with certain people, it probably take some adjusting because it's, it's all about
trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
There you go. And it's that, and I was talking to her last night. I was like, we don't have that village mentality any longer. We don't operate like a village, whereas if all we had was
I resent that remark. I do have a village mentality. Thank you very much. Y'all might not, but I sure do.
The understood we.
Well, I don't know, Pastor. So I'm gonna say this. I'll say this. I know you reach out for some things, but a lot of times we kind of have to take things from you. Like, we're like, Pastor, your load is heavy. You can't do it all. Let me grab this from you.
What do you say?
That's not a lack of village mentality. That is dedication to leadership and trying to make it happen for the village.
I got you. I mean, but you don't feel
village
like
mentality is the connection. We're in this. Village. That's what that is. The reality is that, and I'm not trying to I'm guilty of what you're saying.
Right.
But my downfall is my desire to be there so much for my village that I'll carry too much.
Gotcha. All right. Before we continue on, coming to the stage all the way from a town in South Carolina where the murder capital is high. And the brother made it out. Officer Dwayne Goodson. Yeah.
Morning, bro. Morning, Willette. Morning, Keita.
Hey, good morning, Willette. Good morning, Keita. Come on, to Sam. If I hadn't said it, good morning.
Ear off the day.
And Samantha.
All right. So, what would that look like? So, in your household, right? If something was to unfortunately happen, do you have somebody that you know off the top of your head? You don't have to call anybody out particular, that would step in and help, like be there, or be available, to help guide, to help be there, to kind of be a leader proxy in a sense.
Yeah, it's challenging. Like what you're saying. I'm thinking about the long haul, and we work so hard trying to be responsible. I try to leave my wife financially with money. Like that's like when I think about death, and it's all right to think about it. Bob said you think about it often, but when I think about dying, I mostly think about will they have funds to keep going. But I'm no fool. They'll have more needs than funds. But it's been such my focus. I want the lights on. I want the kitchen fully stocked. But when all that's said and done, there's life lessons. We know because we do more as men than just pay bills. We provide more for our family than just money. Right. But it's funny when I think about my absence, right. I keep thinking I hope that I gotta have that money there. Right. I have some people that would step in. Okay. But like you said, some of the most responsible, because you think about a man that can have the mindset to say, you know what, I'm gonna step in for my guy because I see there's a lack. Mm-hmm. This man probably got some other responsibilities currently too. You know what I'm saying? That's so how long can he stay? How dedicated can he be? How available can he be? He might have his own kids, his own situation, his own things he need to do.
You just said a mouthful right there. That last statement you made, how available can he be?
Like I said, in the beginning, of course, there's the compassion, there's the heartfelt, because even if something happened with Pastor, my wife's like, hey, make sure they're good, make sure that, because they're going through. Everybody, we're in the going through stage, but once the initial grieving, subsides. Of course, there's always the moments, but once the initial grieving subsides, the 6 months, that year later,
if Pastor McCoy unfortunately transitioned, there's some.
Ephraim share with me.
Yeah, I want to share with you. Sam gonna turn me down first of all.
Hey, tell him to call Kenneth.
There you go. Bring my brother in this again.
But if Pastor McCoy would transition, just in his pastor role, there's protocols that go into place instantly to make sure that Solomon Temple is covered. All right. But even with those protocols, once it's all taken care of, we reached out to this person's been notified, we've come in, we've done this. All those efforts are to make sure that y'all got somebody in place, that things are in place, his wishes are honored, he himself is honored, and then those protocols cease and we move on. You know what I'm saying? So it's the long haul piece that I think is just harder. And it's hard for me thinking about saying, yeah, I want another dude to be with my wife, because let's keep it real. Ultimately, you know what I'm saying? I ain't no spring chicken. But I'm saying my wife, she a young woman. You feel me? Right. So if I Lord forbid I go tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? What's she supposed to do? Right. I don't want, but
you don't think about it. But
I don't want to think about it. I get a little upset. I might go choke her right now.
Don't think about it too much. We don't need you at the house.
You see what I'm saying?
Wait, hold on. You thinking about that dude already,
bro? We no lie. Me, my sisters, my wife, all this. We just random conversation one night. Okay. And we started naming people who you can't date if we die. And the conversation got so real. Nah, you can't, blah, blah, blah. You can't do, And then like I had to start expanding it. Like, okay, they can't be from Florida. Like it got crazy, bro. It got real crazy as you start to think about these things. Like it's like, you know, who gonna, you know, I mean, somebody else in your spot. Because you work so hard to be in your spot. Because
right.
I don't care what they all, you know what I'm saying, being a man ain't easy. Right. So, you know, I do all I can do just to stand in this spot, and to think that I'm just gonna, you know, give it up to somebody is just kind of hard. I know it might be immature, but it's hard to think about that.
I mean, I get you. I mean, because in the end, I mean, we're gone. I mean, we ain't have no choice in the joker that come in the house.
She been smiling at you since we started going to that church. You better not date her.
Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
She on deck.
Because, like, I guess the premise is that you probably know the other person now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't want it to be nobody I know. And the one thing we couldn't settle on is and women, y'all got to help me with this. It's that time period. Right. Like they were talking about a certain pastor who got remarried. It was like 2 years later. And I'm not saying you replace a lifetime of marriage, but what y'all want this man to do? Like, okay, I get it. If your wife transitions and then the next day you married,
2 months later,
even the police gonna be looking at you. So I get that. But I'm saying, like, well, like, what are you supposed to do?
Right. We did talk about that too. So
preachers can't be out here burning, man. These preachers got to get married, man. Like y'all, but look here. I don't know.
Consistent sex for 20, 30 years, and now they're supposed to just sit home and be sad by themselves.
Right. But okay, let's get back to the topic. Let's get back because we're gonna go off on that tangent because the timing, that's a whole nother. How long do you wait? How long do you wait? Is it so if you have like family members that don't have the male figure and they got kids, because you know, if they're single, it may be harder to cover, but you know, covering still needs to be done.
Yep.
But when they're single with children,
because kids
and let's, you said what's that?
No, I'm agreeing with you. Like I'm saying, because kids is a whole nother factor itself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, have you ever been in a situation to cover outside of your home, and what does that look like for you? You know, for me, I've been really like thinking about this topic. I've had my sisters, I've covered kind of, you know, but I don't think I won't say force, but push myself into their lives a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like I was there. I'm a phone call away. You know what I'm saying? I've always been phone call away, you know. But the guidance and be there, like, you know, I'm around some of my nephews. But it's the guidance. Yeah.
It's
like insurance. It's not full coverage. It's just partial. You feel me?
Liability.
But are your right. I was gonna call you is the question. Because I know if your nephews and nieces needed you, I know you and Sam gonna be there. But
we always.
That's not the problem most of the time. Most of the time is when somebody needs that help, are they gonna reach out or are they gonna
reach out? Yeah,
and are they gonna reach out? Are they gonna reach out in time too? Sometimes they call you when it's too late. Like when you 6 months late on your rent, you might have needed to call me earlier. You know what I'm saying? By the time he cussing you out and all that, might be a little too late. I might need to talk to nephew when he talk back a little bit. You get what I'm saying? So like,
oh, that's good.
Like, are they gonna call? You know,
that's good. But I think some situations, I guess you feel like you can handle until you can't. You're like, I got this. You know, until it's like, oh, bro, this throw something at me. You know, like,
what we do ain't easy, bro. That's why I can't have 3 wives, because the one I got is like got me. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't easy, man. Like I was growing up, you see this stuff and you see like the image, like, man, it'd probably be good to be a dad and have the wife, the kids, and the dog and all that. But like I'm saying, to maintain it, you know what I'm saying? Like it ain't just like buying the Benz is affordable, but when I go down there for them oil changes, man, I'm gonna tell you where the balling at is maintaining the car. That's where it's at. You can get it, but maintaining the thing, you know, I give God credit for creating the earth, but the fact that he can maintain it, that this thing's still spinning, that's crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? So like what we do ain't easy. And for somebody else to come in, they probably have a responsibility already. It's kind of like pitch hitting. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm just stepping in for a moment. Right. And any brother on this call, I'll be there, but I'm going to be there to the best of my ability. Right. You know what I'm saying? But my money will run out because I can't, because my kids, they stay eating pork chops. So I can't, I got to have money reserved for that. Right. So, you know, I'll come through when I can. But
Sam said, my kids are small. I want AD to find him another help me. She said she better be able to fight though, because my sisters are about that life.
So Sam's sister's gonna jump your new life.
I met some of them
like,
sisters.
Not initially, just like say something. I wish you would just say something. Say something. So
when your family receiver, your family might not even like your new wife. This gonna be hard.
Right. I mean, that's that'd be challenging, but
AD, I hate to take it there, but the statement you made before you read Sam, it's like when you talk where you ain't eat both. Here's the major difference between those dudes that had multiple wives then and dudes that have multiple wives now. Dudes that had multiple wives then, they didn't have to worry about anything because they were the iron sheik of their house. Right. If they said something, nobody dare said anything. And
right.
Now you got to deal with. Watch the segue, AD. You got to deal with benevolent sex.
Benevolent sex, right?
Things have changed now, so you can't talk to them any kind of way,
right?
And I'm not saying that it was ever right.
No,
but
right. I mean, and you're right.
Going for it
now.
Yeah, right. Because when things got hot, you know, the man will raise his hand and he start to smacking. You know, and let's keep real. That's just how. When authority was like, when his authority was being challenged, it was like, what? You know, so it was. But yeah, so I think that has changed, and you're right about that, Dwayne. A lot of that has changed significantly. That's not an acceptable thing, right? At all. You know, the way we approach, when we deal with our women, you know, in a more respectable manner. They, I guess, for lack of a better word, you know, we give them the space to say what they need to say. You know, like we're not the like controlling like that. I'm
your partner, not your owner.
Right. We're still ahead. We get the space as the head, but it's not like it was back then. The controlling and no, you can't. You know, I dare you. You better not.
No, Ike and Tina.
Right. Exactly. So, all right, Pastor's very quiet. I was about to.
He ain't quiet. He's listening. He over there stewing.
He's stewing.
He's stewing.
Right. Yeah. So, like, what does it look like? You know, what does covering outside your home look like? You know, how can you effectively cover? You know, and I'm not saying. I mean, Pastor may have some great examples. I know, like for me, you know, what does effective cover look other than money, of course, you know, because that's always, you know, when you're a baller, you know, I can cash out, I can save everybody financially, you know, that for lack of a better word, I mean, better way of saying that's like easy. That's the easy part. If you have the available cash, but outside of that, what does covering look like?
Money is the easy part. I will say that it's the easier part.
Yes, it's the most understood part. It ain't easy though. Getting money ain't easy.
Right.
Well, here's the thing for me, and then we can get into that discussion. First of all, covering is still a choice.
Right.
So
no doubt.
You can have people in place if you don't choose to be covered. Right. Number one, that there is none. But once we get to the point, this person wants to be covered. This person desires and yearns to be covered. I think there's a whole lot of understanding and a whole lot of communication that need to get involved in that process, because number one, if it's a covering and you're not my spouse, that changes the type of covering or what exactly I can cover. Right. Like I may be able to cover my nieces and nephews and give them some manly advice and show them what a dad and a husband and the male is supposed to be. But there may be other areas that I can't. Spiritually, there's some things that I don't know
Hold on. Let me come on back. He said, Pastor. He said, Pastor's gonna overcover me and be all in my business all the time.
and I laugh because
right,
I'm
she
like,
was doing that when I was single. Right.
and I'm laughing because I'm like, I don't see anything changing.
Right.
He pastor.
Right.
I don't see it'll be like a military change of command.
Hey, right.
Everything's gonna stay the same.
It'd be like Jack Nicholson. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Right.
You want the truth?
Right. Right. So Pastor, what would you say like covering outside the household look like? I mean, I know you've kind of have some experience that I've seen firsthand. What does that look like for you, or how does that look like?
To me, I don't think it's any different. You know, again, It goes back to trust. It goes back to the village concept. It goes back to biblical teaching. It goes back to understanding and valuing relationship. What relationship really is. It's a character thing. It's an integrity thing. It's all of those things. You know, I would say that money is not the easiest thing. I would call money the low hanging fruit. But if you give somebody money and you're just going to end up broke.
Right. Well, that too.
And so money is not the answer, right? Agreement is the answer. Walking in agreement. You know, my legacy is more important than how much money I leave in the bank when I leave here. Because if you have no sense, you'll have no sense.
Right.
That's a fact. And so it's really not about how much money you leave someone. It's about how empowered and how equipped you leave them. And I'm talking beyond your family into your village. What village concept do you have? When we talk about covering each other's families, you know, we're talking about I think someone said it earlier, filling in the gap. Right. If I love you and I consider you a part of my village, self-preservation is key. I want my family to have the best of what I have to offer. But when someone else loses a resource, if a part of the village loses a resource, I don't look at it as it's incumbent upon me as much as I look at it as it is incumbent upon the village to step in and gather around. You know, when you stick your finger in a glass of water, what happens? The water collapses around your finger. That's what a village should do with a family that loses a resource. The problem we have is we separate ourselves from the village. Our pride causes us to disconnect. We don't want the help. We don't need this. We got it and all that. And get mad because when you pull your finger out of that glass of water, it looks like your finger was never in there. Right.
You think
you
hurt
get
somebody.
mad that no one's chasing you. You know, they will cover you if you want to be covered. But a lot of folks are too prideful and we don't want to be covered because we're afraid of what it might look like and all of that. We didn't have our affairs in order. And then you get mad when no one's chasing you. You know,
so you're saying covering is a position.
Say it again.
So you're saying covering is a position, and you have to be in position to be covered.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Absolutely.
I got you.
But the purpose or the method, you know, the answer should be yes, we cover uncovered women in our village, without a doubt. You know, I was laughing at Ephraim earlier. And you just made me feel old because personally, when it comes to coming behind me and my wife, good luck. Right? I mean, I'm concerned about the men that are coming after my daughters. Good luck, right? Because the standard has been set. Right. So there should be a standard where you don't have to worry about it because you have put enough of a standard out there that whoever your wife or your daughters choose has to be in their proper place because you set a standard. That's your legacy. So I don't worry about that kind of stuff because I'll be dead and gone anyway. Nothing I can do about it. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me read this comment real quick because it was poignant. Sam said, when my mother died, husband died, his brother Elix moved her to GA to be there to help her with the girls. He tried to fill in the gaps for her. So that was a interesting moment. He said glass of water analogy was perfect. It definitely that did take place, and that did help, quite a bit, at least in the transition of trying to figure out what to do.
And how many I know we're talking about wives, but how many grandmothers have done that? Stepped in when their child's not acting right, took over the kids. Right. You know what I'm saying? So
I got like 15 nieces and nephews that live with me growing up.
Yeah. I woke up with somebody on my couch every day, black, white. It was just like that's how my people did it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I grew up in an open door, an open house. That's what it was. There was always somebody living in our house from somebody else's family. There was always somebody there.
Yep.
Right. Do you think that we've become too selfish sometimes to really have a strong village?
I think we scared sometimes, bro. Some of this news and people are crazy. We're a lot more distrusting. Is that a word? Somebody else? Yeah. Okay. So
that's fine. It's a word now.
Yeah, it's one today.
I understand
it. So we just have this. We used to have a more what's that Mayberry approach, like leave your door unlocked. People come through, give like a benefit of the doubt that the person probably up to good or need help type of thing. And what amazes me that they had way less than we had.
Right.
I told you I woke up with somebody on my couch every day. I ain't living no mansion. You feel what I'm saying? Right. Like my daddy don't want rich. You feel what I'm saying? But they on my couch and I'm still eating and still going to school, still got my needs met. So they had less, 2-bed houses, 15 kids. Like how did y'all pull this off? And everybody got something for Christmas. Like, so it's like,
right.
With less, they did more because they just had a willingness to do it. I don't think that willingness is there. I think we have allowed like distrust to come in, fear to come in. Like, who is this person with it? Like hitchhikers. Do people still hitchhike? Like, I don't know if somebody picking somebody up today. Like, it's
just not in certain places. And like, here's the difference. What you said with the hitchhiking, like, I live in the Great Northwest. There are a lot of hitchhikers in Alaska. Right. You know why? Because Alaska's not like Atlanta. Okay. Alaska's not like Orlando, New York. It's still untouched with a lot of things. Okay. And I think families.
I think there are a lot of hitchhikers in Alaska because nobody wants to walk in that cold.
And I'm glad you even said that, because it even brings more. It brings even more meat to the analogy I was about to use. Before, our families were like Alaska, and we had to depend on each other because we didn't have a lot, and you were forced to trust. But think about and it's probably the same for every family. But think about Black families. I don't know about y'all family, but my mom, I told you, she got Alzheimer's, and she tells stuff now that she didn't used to tell, that she kept in. I found out that her stepfather was a molester. And the reason she moved out at 15 and got married at 15 was because she was protecting her little sister when her mom didn't believe her, or believed her, whatever the case was, but she got kicked out the house. That stayed a family secret. Like, I got an auntie that hates her father. Then I got sisters and nephews that always act funny at family get-togethers. It's like, you don't talk about this, you don't talk about that. Now I know, because my mom has talked about it, because she forgot to remember it. She forgot that it was a secret. She forgot that it was a secret. So now we're operating in times where we know all these dirty secrets, and we're not taking our children over here, or he's not welcome at our house, or my village, my house is safe, but you got so many trust issues you don't know.
Yeah.
Remember growing up, how many people could spank you in your neighborhood?
Oh yeah.
Not saying they did, but how many people could?
Yeah. Now they can't even talk to you.
Can anybody spank your child that last name ain't Terrell either?
But don't even look at my kids.
That's the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Things have gotten bad.
Hey, good morning, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a disservice to us, man. We were stronger at stronger.
Because now, if a person knew, if a pastor said, if I'm in Alaska, I'm hitchhiking because it's cold outside. You know that cold reminded you can't do this by yourself. You need some help.
Yeah.
Right.
But now, even in 115, 125 degrees in Phoenix, you put your film out. You can be in the desert for a long time.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So how do we develop the trust back? He says, you're right. There's a few that can spank mine. Very few.
Yeah.
Oh, Taiwan said, man, you stick your thumb out in Alaska waiting for a ride, your thumb will freeze off. Ashley said, I hitchhike now, but I always have my phone on 911 and a pocket knife in my bag.
Okay.
You're right, E.
Okay.
Got a lot of distrust.
Ashley straight out of Tallahassee though. That's why she
Right.
If you have to use your pocket
gangster,
knife,
though.
if you have to use your pocket knife, let me give you a couple things to know. Aim for soft tissue that got major organs.
Point the spot, D.
The eye,
There you go.
the underarm,
So the other
Wow.
spot, D.
groin area. You know,
Wow.
if you're gonna aim at the ribs, come up at an angle so you can get some major organs, the lungs and the heart. And if you decide you have to stick, turn it so they're probably gonna hemorrhage to death in the hospital.
This stabby moment is brought to you by.
Ashley, go get you a pillow. Start practicing that right quick.
Right. I was thinking that too. Still hitchhike, girl. I don't know. I think I might be walking it. Like,
Yeah, it's just it speaks to where we at in the world. Period,
Right.
man. Like, and shout out to my former president. He even made it to the point where we don't trust the news no more. You feel me? Like, that is the most used phrase. You got to give him that. Like, we say that now. Like, not fake news, bro. Like, so it's just breeding what? You know, Time Magazine need to make that the year of the lie. You feel me? Like, I know what I just saw, but that was not an insurrection. Them people that peacefully, and until they start telling them they couldn't get in, that's when the violence took place. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are trying to convince us we don't see what we see.
Right.
So there's just distrust everywhere, man. Oh man, I hope that's a word.
Safety moment with Goodson. Right? There you go. Safety moment, Mr. Goodson.
No, listen, safety moment. The safety is, girl, you better not be out there hitchhiking nowhere.
Right. Yeah. Sam said, right, when you in court, make sure you called Dwayne for bail.
You ain't got to worry about that. Ashley is, look, here you go. Ashley is a timid, nice young female who was over trusting and some overly aggressive person who wanted to hurt her.
Here's my take. My take is that might be her in an intimate relationship, but there ain't nothing timid about Sister Ashley.
No,
nothing.
It does not surprise me she got that knife. It's probably a big one too.
I don't think so either. I was just trying to make the point that you're a woman, and if a man attack you,
Ashley went out in the middle of the street and started dancing.
Right.
Yeah,
I can describe the knife.
That's why she has a pocket knife. If Ashley has a pocket knife, I don't want her stabbing me nowhere.
Yeah. Ashley, tell us what color the knife is. Ashley probably got it's probably pink with flowers on and everything. But she a gangster though?
No, but the fact that she even said that she had it, the fact that she said she has the knife, you really think you got to tell her how to stab? Because she didn't say I have a gun.
A couple of pillows
said I have a knife, so she don't even need a gun. So I'm
you have somebody here though.
I'm a lady, but my knife's a big blood.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, quick reset. You guys are watching The Brothers of Legacy, where we don't stand out, we stand up. Today, we're talking about covering our village and how do we cover our ladies that are outside our household. And we'll be right back after this. This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. Ready to go live? Go to bit.ly/StreamYard, BOL. That's bit.ly/StreamYard, BOL. This episode is also brought to you by Self. build credit now. Go to bit.ly/now build credit. bit.ly/now build credit. All right. So, my question is, how do we build the trust back in our village, right? So, how do you build a trust where can you build, like, if something to happen, things are in place, like we have a will, to protect, financially, make sure assets and things like that go to the proper people, down the line. If we lose our wife, of course, our wife gets everything. Unless something happens to her, it goes to our kids. Everything's done properly. But do we mitigate protection with our village, by creating a village of trusted people around us?
Well, listen, if you want to increase trust, you have to increase communication, dialogue.
Right.
You
That's
have to
good.
talk.
Right.
You have to set expectations. You have to
Right.
come together. We live so isolated now that it's difficult to have that trust. People need to get together more frequently. People have to no longer be afraid of sharing when they're going through.
Wow.
You have to practice this stuff. I don't want anybody to know my business. Because I don't want to be talked about. Ain't nobody thinking about you. And if they are, they're thinking about you today, but next week they'll be thinking about somebody else.
That's good.
We spend so much time concerned about how we look to people, and we spend less time trying to get it right. The issue we have is we live in such a narcissistic world that it's always about me. And what I find with that type of mentality is that you spend your time talking about everything except what you need to be talking about. We spend our time criticizing, critiquing other people, when such were some of you. The Bible says you have to get the mote out of your own eye before you can see clear to get the beam out of your brother or your sister's eye. If we would stop pointing fingers, if we would stop finding so much wrong in other people, we would no longer be afraid to confess our sins.
That's good.
Right? We would no longer be afraid to share our struggles. Right. People are talking about how important mental health is today. Right? You want to know why there's been such an emphasis on mental health and going and sitting down and talking to some psychiatrist? Because people can't talk in the church anymore. People can't talk in the villages anymore. That's why that's such a hot topic now, because you can't talk to your family. If we could actually communicate internally, mental health would not be a topic. The professional athletes would not have to get out there and do promos on mental health. They suffering. Too many people are suffering in silence. And I've said this. Y'all know me. I've said this before. I tell my church, don't call me pastor if you don't want me in your business.
Right.
How I am doing you a disservice if I don't know what's going on in your life. Right. People say, well, the Lord should have gave you discernment. Yeah, the Lord does give me discernment. I know something is going on, but it's up to you to tell me what it is.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Yes,
and
indeed.
That's the thing. You're right here. And we're right here in front of each other. We see each other on a regular basis, and we're struggling and won't say anything. People die, and we find out after they're dead and gone what they were fighting.
Right.
You understand? We find out after they're dead and gone, there was no plan in place.
Right.
And then you're forced to help people, but it becomes such an inconvenience because no one had time to prepare for it.
Right. And that's what I want to really harp on right there. The preparation. But before we continue, coming to the stage all the way out of Tennessee in Houston right now on location. My brother from another mother, Cole Johnson. All right, let's do this. Forgive that last comment.
Yeah, but yeah, Pastor, you said everything I wanted to say and then some, and I wrap what you say up in a scripture. Know them that labor among you. See, everything about us. I think if we're honest, the only thing that man really does that's just him is die. Everything else is about the body and people that we're connected to. Like I remember just to echo what you said, I'm gonna My mother and my sisters growing up had 5 sisters by my mom, and my 5 sisters by my mom, they stayed near my mom, and they knew each other to the point that even if my mom was struggling financially and she didn't say anything to them, they knew her moods. So they would bring by food at certain times. She never asked for it, but they knew her. She knew them, and it worked both ways. When she needed time away from us, one of my sisters be like, "Hey, just go and hang out at the beach for the day, for the weekend. We got the kids." You know, those things matter. Fellowship matters, and that's how you get to know those who labor among you. If I'm pretty sure, like every church, you see this at Solomon's Temple. I guarantee you, there's a group of people that anytime you check their phone and they done text or call one of their brothers and sisters from the church at least once that day. And you see this within churches. You see this within families. You can't trust something that you don't know. You can't have a relationship with something that you don't put time into.
That's true.
And one of the reasons why people back in the day could spank kids or could correct children in those environments, because they knew each other. The mothers had a relationship. The fathers had a bond. Hey, ain't you Anthony's son?
Right.
You Anthony boy, ain't you?
Oh,
your daddy know you acting like this down here. I ain't thanks. And it was that tight because they knew each other. Now, granted, for my family, it was because it was a farming community. Everybody worked on the farm, so they knew each other. They knew each other, mamas, sisters, brothers, kids, and everything else. I think about you guys. I know you, but sad to say, AD's the only one that I've met in person. Now, we've had phone conversations and everything, but that's one of those things where if something happened to me right now, I know that every man on this on stage right now, they would initially have some type of, hey, you need this, everything good here, Stacey.
But you know what's deep about that? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Cool.
Like, because Pastor, you're saying, like, connecting with the village and knowing what people are going through. It's like if we really get real with each other, right, and we have the deep conversation of the things that's going on, what we're struggling with. Like right now, like Dwayne has had a rental property. I'm not sure what the state is. You don't have to say it online. But that would be like, I would call, if something happened, I would like, hey, he used to talk about it. You need some help, maintenance, anything you good with that, like knowing certain things, like, are you straight in your life? And, I know you got the door. We know how old they are. We know we know about the bigger kids. Like, you guys good with that? It's coming into a situation, and in the words of Dwayne, with the intel, so you could be the most effective. Somehow with Pat, like, I know kind of what happens in pastors' lives. Like, okay, boom, what's up with the ministry? Lady, what do you want to do with this? What we want to do? Just think about it. Call us because it's just happened. But these are important things. What we're gonna do. This situation, work, and whatever. What can we do to help organize your life to make sure? To lessen the stress, like E, I know you help with the ministry, like we would step in to at least get through this moment, with the absence.
But I think a lot of that goes back to the culture of the community, right? The first and foremost, to know them that labor among you is to find out whether or not we're speaking the same language. Right. One thing that I've often said is that, I speak to this spiritually. Anyone that is really chasing God is speaking the same language, or should be speaking the same language. And villages should be speaking the same language. One of the greatest travesties to a broken home, single parenting, is when the child goes to their mother's house and there's one setup, and then they go to the father's house and there's a totally different conversation going on. So every time the child goes back and forth, the child has to be retrained, because what you do in one house, you don't do in another. Right. And then what happens is you feel so much more confidence about what you're teaching your children and you feel less confidence about what your neighbor is teaching their children. So you don't want your neighbor's input in your children's lives. That's the division of the village. You have people in the same churches that have different philosophies in their households.
Right.
You understand? You have the same God, but I don't want my children to go outside and be so far that I can't see them.
Right.
You let your children go all the way around the block.
Right. Right.
You understand?
Yes.
Though, and I'm simplifying this, but those are the things that trip us up in our communities. Dwayne, you alluded to something earlier. The reality, Dwayne, the world was much smaller because we all lived in the same community.
Yep.
Right.
You understand? So it was easy to know whose child was whose and all of that stuff. You knew what they were doing because they were all going to the same park. They were all going to the same places. You know,
barbershop.
That's just the reality. You know, and now it's different. You know, there's 5 of us on this call.
Right.
We in 5 different places. I cannot throw a rock and hit Ephraim's house. I can't throw a rock and hit AD's house. I can't throw a rock and hit your house. Right. I can't even fire a weapon and hit Cole.
Right.
You understand?
That far.
Yeah, I'm saying so. Yeah. To your point, Cheryl, we're in a different world today.
Right.
So the question is, we have to have a relationship that shrinks the size of the world when it comes to our village.
Yeah.
Right.
And Pastor, it goes back to something Pastor was saying earlier about legacy. If Dwayne has transitioned and then his daughter graduates, and I come and put $100 in her hand, that's all the strength of Dwayne. I probably won't even know what school she went to. You know what I'm saying? So that's his legacy because of how your daddy got down. Here's $100 in your hand in your moment. You know, if your dad was here, he would do this $100 and more. But just off the strength of that, I've circled back around just to try to be in this moment. You know what I'm saying? So it's legacy, man. It's tough to think about when you're gone, but like day by day working to put things in place so that we have this lasting effect. You know, you hear Cole. I heard Cole mention his dad a couple times, you know, in his statements, and you know, you want this legacy, this lasting effect to be on you. But you turn around and you kind of turn into your parents. I love that the commercials when the guy, the insurance commercials and the people coming in. That's so funny to me.
Kuno.
That's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we do. We mess around.
We come
and
around.
We saying the same thing, man. Man, look here.
And it's funny because Pastor, but Cole, you go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, go ahead, jump in, Cole.
Yeah, well, I hate to actually, Pastor's correct, but but to piggyback off of him, I hate to go back to this, go back to this subject, but back in that era, they were also monetarily invested in their village and community too.
Yes.
And I mean, it's true. I mean, what Wu-Tang said is awesomely true. Cash rules everything around me.
Cream, get the money.
Dollar bills, y'all.
And it's funny how when you are financially invested in something, how much more willing you're able to put effort into that something. So you had family stores, you had family barbershops, you had family salons, you had family grocery stores, and the community was pouring monetarily into one another. So if you're gonna put money into something, you're more invested in seeing it grow. Today, not so much, because you can spend your dollars however you see fit, wherever you see fit, whenever you see fit. So when you used to have the village look at some child that was wayward, and 4 or 5 different parents could just simply lay the spanking on them.
Yeah.
Right. Now those same 4 or 5 parents will be arrested.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Cole, are you saying that segregation messed us up? I gotta ask,
integration
sound like what I'm hearing.
No. Well, look, integration is a double-edged sword.
Right.
You know, part of it is good, and God was meant for us to bond with one another, regardless of race or color or creed.
Yeah. Right.
That's the good aspect. The bad aspect is when you see prosperity happen, watch the destruction from the other entities start to come to play. Maybe look at Tulsa, Black Wall Street, and the Tulsa Race Massacre, which happened almost exactly 100 years ago to the day. So when you have these things implemented in place and you see these forces want to destroy it, you get the understanding that, well, wait a minute. This world is bigger than me and I can invest. But I think now we have come to an age where we have to start thinking, well, we have to invest more than our money in order to actually say, I want to take care of the village.
Yeah.
And that's the key right there. And that's what I'm glad you got there, Cole, because everything you said is valid, it's viable.
Who is that?
Ice cream.
But I wanted to make sure that you got to the point to where it's definitely more than money. And the reason, and I believe the reason you say that, the problem is, you could do, y'all come together and do each other's hair. You come over to my house and I give you a haircut. You understand? People could discipline each other's children. The reason law enforcement had to get involved is it got to a point where you put your hands on my child, I'm putting my hands on you.
Right.
The reality is, if we were a village and you put your hands on my child, we handled that in the village.
Yeah.
We did. You're right.
But because the village has been broken, the concept has been broken, somebody's going to catch a case. And again, it still goes back to pride. I cannot let it out that somebody put their hands on my child and I didn't do anything about it. That's what happens. So you come together and do each other's hair. There was a time doing each other's hair was about bonding. You understand?
Exactly.
Now you can sit in the chair and let somebody do your hair, and you don't even like the person doing your hair.
Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing to them.
Right.
So, girl, I couldn't wait to get over
back
here.
then, everything we did. You come in the kitchen, we work in the kitchen together. That was about fellowship. That was about bonding.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's like, I don't want to be in the kitchen with him. I don't want to be in the kitchen with her. We've lost the concept of or the value of bonding together in fellowship. Everything was a fellowship.
Yeah.
You understand? Cleaning house, we used to call it house parties. You clean the house, come together, clean the house as a house party. Doing the yard, you did the yard as a family. Everything was done with a group mindset.
Can I tell you something?
Can I gripe for just a minute?
Okay.
I want to gripe. Being a preacher, I want to put preachers on blast.
Talk about them preachers.
Well,
because this one pet peeve of mine, I'm so tired of listening to preachers talk about how important it is to cut people off.
Right.
You ain't trying to get with me. You ain't trying to get. I'm gonna just cut you off. I'm gonna change my phone number, change my address.
Right.
Everybody's cutting everybody off.
Yeah.
Right.
oh, this is a TikTok right here.
You understand? And I'm saying, how are you leading a family, a village,
That you cut off.
a nation of people,
That you cut
and
off.
somebody get mad about something, or we don't agree on something, and they got to get cut off?
Right.
There was a process. Jesus gave us instructions. He gave us details around when to shake the dust off your feet.
Yes, definitely.
You understand? And it didn't have anything to do with, I don't like the way you did that. The Bible says that we can disagree, but not operate being disagreeable. Let's not be disagreeable.
Right.
You understand? And I'm saying that if we can't come together and communicate, here's the point. Why is it that every time you get mad at somebody, they got to change churches?
Right.
Why is it that every time you get mad at somebody, we're not on the same page, so I need to cut you off? You pulling me down. Let me ask a question to the preacher. What if Jesus cut you off?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Boy.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
What if Jesus told Peter with his knucklehead self, he said, when thou art converted, he basically said, then you'll be of value to the village. Strengthen the brethren.
Right.
Peter straight up betrayed him, and he said, I'm not going to hold that against you. When you get converted, strengthen the brethren. You're going to come back from that.
You have to learn to cultivate, not cut off. That's good, Lisa. That's good.
Look,
It's a division at its best. Important to relationship. Go ahead.
You spoke life. I'm not gonna call that a gem. I'm not gonna call that a nugget. You spoke life. Like I've heard you make this statement. You said, when it comes to my marriage, I'm gonna fight for it every chance I get. That's why I'm still married, because I don't quit.
Right.
It's the same concept with anything worth anything in life. You have to keep going, and if you the body, I mean, there's so much to this. Like the body itself, when something is infected in the body doesn't try to get rid of that body part. The body goes into overtime creating stuff to mend and to heal what's broken.
Yeah.
And the Bible says that God placed that we're one body and members in particular, and God places us in the body where he sees fit. Pastor, you just made something that my mom said to me make sense. And I thought that it would never, ever, 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 ever make sense. But you just made it make sense. My mom used to tell me about picking cotton as a little girl back in the 1940s, picking cotton. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say it in my mind the way I heard it. You in some white man's field picking cotton, and you got the nerve to say you had fun? And then she would always say, I was there with my cousins and my friends, and we would laugh and we would joke and we would sing.
Right.
You gave me insight that my mom, she's telling me, and I still didn't get it. But now you just gave me the value of it. It was horrible conditions.
Right.
Sometimes we're going to be in horrible conditions.
Right.
But even in that horrible condition, can you find the meat? Can you find the life? Can you find what you need to better yourself?
Right.
And he was telling me that, and here I am in my 40s, grown. She got Alzheimer's, and I finally get it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you never come back and complain, the Bible tells us that if you have an ought with your brother, to go and be reconciled, right? We've lost the understanding, the desire for reconciliation. We stay mad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And people die mad. Right. Yeah. I say to people, if I hurt you, it was not my intention.
Right.
But I'll never know if you don't come back and tell me that I hurt you.
Yeah.
Right. We have to fight for our village. We have to fight for our relationships. We have to fight for our families. Now, I don't want to chase anyone because I don't feel like I should have to chase you. I tell people I love you. And when I say that I love you, I mean that sincerely, which means I don't say that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I won't make a mistake. I'm not saying that I won't say something wrong. Yeah. I'm saying that I love you, and love covers a multitude of sin. And if you love me back, let's get this thing worked out. Listen, I'd rather you come and cuss me out.
Right.
Than to disappear. Come and cuss me out, and we can work through that. Right. But disappearing, that's the destruction of our village. That's the destruction of our family. Why are you going to hold a grudge against somebody that you really actually want to have a relationship to prove a point?
Right. And don't come to me with I was mad at you. I'm not gonna tell you why, but I forgive you now. Like, wait a minute. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, you mad? I prayed about it. I worked it out with God, but don't we good now. We good. Like,
don't even bring it up then.
How will I know not to do that again?
Yeah. Right, because I'm about to do it in the next 20 seconds. Right, because I don't know what it is.
Right. So all that is the reason why it's difficult to cover each other. All those are reasons why. These are the things that hinder us from covering one another.
Pastor, I want to hear you talk one day. I want like the 5 things that make it hard to be your pastor. I would love to hear you break that membership. That could be your next book. Like I can't think of that verse. I read it earlier in the week about how you're not supposed to make it hard for the person who watch over your soul. Since they watch over your soul, I'm paraphrasing like crazy. But I want to know the 5 things that make it hard to pastor a person.
That'd be good. Go ahead, Cole.
I was gonna say, yeah, number 1 for him. I'm a Cowboys fan, but
and number 2, I don't like the Lakers.
About to send you a letter right now.
Hold on. I got number 3. And you like Harlem Nights. Hey,
I got number 4.
All right, go.
You don't know how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, the motorcycle. Yep.
What's number 5?
Oh my gosh.
Who got number 5?
Who got number 5?
Preacher, that was easy.
Hold on, I got number 5.
What 5,
I got
bro?
number 5. You keep letting your woman drive.
Yeah.
Number 5.
There it is.
Yeah. Y'all can't be at Solomon Temple. I need y'all to get out of here.
Get out of my church.
I'm cutting people off.
Oh man.
Look, I love the fact that Pastor holds a high standard, not just to his daughters and his family, but to his parishioners. It's a great thing that you have a pastor who
y'all need help. Friday.
We got each other.
It's great that you have a pastor who loves his parishioners like they are family.
Yeah.
Because that too is also missing. The fact that we're supposed to be family. Like you 4 brothers are supposed to be family to me, and I'm supposed to be a brother to you guys.
Right.
I mean, it's in the Bible. I mean, if you want a friend, show yourself friendly. I mean, we're in a society that doesn't want to show ourselves to be friendly. Right. Because we're good to have the chip on our shoulders, we're good to have the haters, and we're good to be stiff upper lipped.
Right.
Because that supposedly gives us a charge and a motivation to rub it in those naysayers' faces.
Right.
Well, after you succeed, if you fail or succeed, after you do that, what award do you get?
Right.
Nah. I mean, what good is I told you so?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you what is good. Saying I love you to these brothers and knowing that they have my back and I have theirs. Yep. Or like they say in the military, they have my 6, I have theirs. Right. That is good. And that quality is missing. So it's wonderful to see a person who is in the ministry actually living that out, and being that example and setting that example. It's
painful, man.
I know it is. It is.
It and to whom much is given, much is required. This is not a self-serving moment, but the reality is it is not easy because people do not, and I guess they're not supposed to understand that. I guess that's the burden that is on the shoulders of shepherding, is that they'll never understand the love that a leader can have for his family. People will never understand that, and so it's supposed to be taken for granted. That's why you have to be built with thick skin, right? But I would say this to any person who's a part of any ministry. The leaders, they love you more than you could imagine. They value you. They hold you in a level of esteem more than you can imagine. We just take it for granted. I take my leaders for granted. I have no, like when I talk to my bishop, I know there are certain times I'm talking to my bishop and I get too comfortable because he's so down to earth. Right. I love him. And I have to remind myself, man, this ain't your homie. This your bishop.
Right.
And I have to be careful, but I love the fact that my leader lets me be me. Wow. I don't have to put on airs. I don't have to do anything like that. That's the greatest part about being in a situation like this. And most folks don't understand that. People don't think, there are a lot of leaders who feel like there has to be this separation between them and their families, the congregation. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. That's why there's a difference between pastors and shepherds.
Just Cheryl said something kind of interesting. Can be a whole topic on its own. Said my pastor was like that for 40 years, the village and connected in the heart. Then she said, he died in January and the church had fell apart.
And that's a
That's
I know
unfortunate.
Pastor
I've
Jay,
seen that
guess
time or
what?
two myself.
say
Yeah,
that's Moses and Joshua right there.
yeah.
No,
I've seen
well,
that a time or two myself.
so here's
Yeah.
the thing, and again, that's one of the challenges that we have in ministry. It's one of the challenges we have in family. It's one of the challenges we have in village, because that point about it being more than money is made right there. He died and the church fell apart.
We don't even have a church now.
Right.
Wow.
Right, because there was no Joshua.
Right.
That's why.
So, I mean, okay, so the Joshua that comes into the church, right? I don't know. I don't even know how to approach this question, but is it like, how do you recognize that? Because I think about that a lot. Because that's legacy.
God sends them.
I got it, right?
Listen,
so God has
the greatest part about Moses' legacy is Joshua.
Yeah.
Right.
That was his greatest accomplishment.
Right.
Because
right.
what happened is, and this is true for any good leader,
right?
You have to have someone with leadership equity coming behind you. Right. Yes, you didn't know Joshua until he was sent to fight the Amalekites.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't know him. Because when his name was brought up, he was given an instruction to go fight. Right. So point number one, when you're a developing leader, always be prepared for battle. It's going to be a battle.
Yeah.
Going into leadership is going to be a fight. You got to be ready to fight. Even prior to that, Joshua had leadership equity with Moses. That means that everybody didn't have to know who Joshua was except the people that he was leading.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Think about this.
Okay.
Joshua's name wasn't popular, but evidently Joshua had private equity that he had built up in that village so that when he was elevated, the people followed him. Yep. Moses was the leader until Moses appointed Joshua. Think about this.
Ooh,
there are many people that probably felt like they had the ability to lead, but everybody knew who was coming after Moses, who was coming behind Moses, because he had equity. That means Joshua had already positioned himself, or Moses had positioned Joshua. He had already passed certain tests. He had already been proven in certain areas that we were not aware of. The world may not see it, but your village should know. And that means that your leader has to endorse you in front of the people so that when the baton gets passed, the respect is already there. And this is what I tell leaders, and this is what I've learned.
Right.
Don't make the transition from the grave.
Right.
Make the transition before you die.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
helps everybody.
And be an endorsement for the next leader in front of the people.
That help the leader. They help the next leader. They help everybody. That is just a smoother trend. It ain't no. Well, I felt like he thought. Nah, he said that when this happens, this happens. You know what I'm saying? Keeps down a lot of confusion.
So okay. So let's transition this. Hold on. Wait. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dwayne.
Talk about the impact of having that recognized, and going back to what Pastor said about legacy earlier, not necessarily being financial.
Yeah.
Joshua, I'm glad you brought him up because of one. Let me just say one thing. Everybody know who Yeshua is, right?
Yeah.
Everybody know the word Yeshua?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was Joshua before it was Jesus. It's the Hebrew word for Joshua. That speaks to the legacy of how important it is knowing who's next, equipping who's next, and making sure that they're ready to do it, because it was after him who Jesus was named.
Right. So let me throw this out there, because I know we always talk about legacy, and we use that the Moses to Joshua transition in a lot of the church leadership, but as the Moses of our households, right? Though we're not appointing a Joshua as far as a husbandish, but who are the Joshuas that you might be directing your family to if something was to happen to you? You know, someone that can come in your house and be able to get the respect. You know what I'm saying? To ask the personal questions as far as, okay, how do I help you go from here? Does that make
Well,
sense?
you know,
I hear you, but I think I hear
sense?
you, but I think it takes a different shape. Oh, I'm sorry, Pastor.
No, it doesn't, Ephraim. The reality, I could call my daughters in here right now, right, and if I had to get on a plane right now today,
Right.
and go out of town, and something happened,
Right.
and their mother's not here,
Right.
my daughters know who to pick up the phone. They know who to call. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
They have a group of men they can call. They can call one man if they don't get him. They can call another man if they don't get him. They got a third man. They got at least 3 phone numbers, maybe 4 phone numbers that they can call. They have a list of people that they know they can reach out to if something goes wrong.
Right.
I have seen situations where I've traveled and my daughter's, my teenage daughter broke down in the car away from home, and I wasn't here.
Wow.
And they were still able to be taken care of, and I wasn't in town, and my wife didn't have to move.
Wow.
Right.
And what I'm saying is, this is all of, like, people often say, man, how you all in their business? What you all what? Yeah. Thank you, Jesus.
Right. It's my business.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
We have to stop, and again, it goes back to something I said earlier. We have to stop hiding from one another.
Right. That's it right there. That's it right there.
I think, but that's what I was saying. I think it takes a different shape with the 80s question in the family. And when it comes to a ministry or organization, a denomination, the government, you know what I'm saying? We know vice president up next. You feel me?
Right.
They got it all the way down through the whole cabinet.
Right.
Like, who is next? You feel me?
Right.
Yeah.
So it takes different structure in those type of environments. When it comes to family, I don't think there's necessarily a designated Joshua up next. I think it's just village mentality, period. It's if I'm missing, then the village has to cover it.
Absolutely.
Like say, it wasn't one man, it was 4 of them, you know.
Right.
And then they can get little parts. I got a friend that I can reach out to that can show me a lot of financially. Dwayne might take me somewhere spiritually. Cole might show me travel. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I got you
with the village.
But who do you like? And my thing is, for us right now, we know who's who, right? But it's the transition of endorsing for our children. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I have a few people like Pastor on my refrigerator. My kids can hit something happen, especially to me and Sam. You know, these are people you need to call. We actually know, like, this is where you're gonna go. We have a transition. Yeah. You know, like having the trust in our children, you know, in our family, in our wives, you know, like, these are the people that we trust to come in and be proxy when I'm not around, when I'm not here, if I'm not here, you know, like, God forbid something happens, you know, these are people that can help transition and help get affairs in order, know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I can go to Dwayne and know certain things.
But it's the same people who you find in your birthday pictures, in your Christmas pictures.
Right.
It's the same people who your children, you know, their children play with your children.
Right.
You know, y'all take vacations together. You know, that's those are the people.
And the same people who's involved in training up that child with you the way they should go.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think
my children have friends that, you know, like, their closest friends are like, you know, cousins, sisters, you know, people say, oh, they make a cute couple. And my daughter be like, it's my brother. Yuck. Are you kidding me? You know, that's how close they are. Right. Close enough to irritate each other, get on each other's nerves, and not hold grudges.
Right.
You know, and
that was the dangerous thing about messing with a big family back in the day. If you mess with one of them, they got 15 cousins that you didn't know about.
Right.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like you said, your daughter said, "Ew, that was my life growing up."
Right.
Like, I was protected even when I didn't know.
Right.
Like, I remember trying to sell dope. I remember trying to sell weed as a 12-year-old. I remember this vividly.
Wow.
And this dude that was 17 decided he was going to jack me up at the park, not knowing who my nephew was.
Wow.
The moment he jumped in, my nephew, along with 3 or 4 other cousins, was like, "Oh, you going to mess with my little uncle, huh?" That's the village. Sometimes the village shows up. You don't have to call the village, because the village is wherever you are.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure that when Pastor went to Memphis or wherever his mom was from, when they was outside of Kankakee, I'm pretty sure he had family members there that had their back.
Right.
I know if I go to certain parts of Florida, I know if I need to call somebody, I know who to call. If I'm in South Carolina, I get into something, I know who to call.
But that's, I'm gonna tell you something. That's a blessing, and I'm going to contradict you. The reality is, what I've learned in my life, I didn't have that in my family.
Oh wow!
Right? I don't know my family like that. We were isolated. I don't have those privileges. I started learning. I've had 2 occasions in my life where I've seen the value of family. One when I lived in Sacramento with my under that leadership, and when I came here, and I watched Jason Fletcher.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And even Samantha, your wife, and Elix, I see things in her family. I see the way you guys come together.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I moved to Georgia in 2004, and I'm saying I didn't really start seeing it until 2009 when I met Jason Fletcher, and we became close, and we served together. We worked together. We cried together, and I got close to his family. I was invited to the 25th family reunion.
Mega family. Yes.
I like, we were there, and we're not even family.
Right.
I mean, but we're family.
Right.
I was there with all the rights and privileges and everything. I got a chance to speak.
Right.
And I'm like, all these folks out here, and I don't, you go back, I don't know any of them from birth. Right. But that's how close we've gotten over the years. And I'm saying that's where my lesson about family has come in. It didn't come from my family. It came from watching other people that I've seen as an adult. So I didn't have that. I don't have that benefit. I don't have those bragging rights. I can't say that about my family, man. And that's just the truth. My mother's on here, y'all. I'm telling y'all the truth. We love each other. All that's good and everything. But I have family up in Philly. They are tight as a box of marbles. You hear me? It's 100 of them up there. But I didn't have that growing up.
That was good. That's good. Tight as a box of marbles. Unfortunately, the family doesn't often work
than I thought.
The way, listen, because I mean, my family wasn't. We was kind of. I knew who was who, but we weren't tight like that either. But because I bring it up because, being intentional about being connected. Like if you move someplace, like okay, you may not have anybody, so it's like let's be intentional about who can we connect to, and build. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if something happens. Because we talk about the isolation, it seems like it happens so often now, because we move a lot, but 2, we don't connect, we're so like side eye and connecting, like it's hard to really trust each other. So I speak about this. So everybody that feels like they're living their life alone, I want to encourage you to begin to connect with other people. Yeah, get connected. You have to talk with other people, build your village. Because I really want you to think about if something was to happen, like how alone is your family going to be? Is there anybody to at least check on them? I am extremely blessed and grateful to be in the space I'm in now. Extremely blessed, because I have people that are connected. Because something happened, I know folks, especially Pastor, will be on top of. All right, what's next? All right, what's next? Right. All right, what's next?
How scary would it be to die in a house and nobody know till they start smelling the body, bro?
Right.
Like nobody come check on me. Like AD can't be missing for no 2 days. Like you know what I'm saying? Like,
my brother passed away. We don't know the exact day. The day before we buried him, the day before Ella was born. Right. So I get a call on Thanksgiving. No, the Sunday following Thanksgiving, we found your brother Ray dead. And the last time anybody saw him was the Wednesday prior to Thanksgiving.
Wow.
But he isolated himself so much that people got used to not seeing him for a couple days. Because there was moments he didn't want to be bothered. He didn't want to in his face, so he stayed to himself.
Right.
And they have zero idea. Because of the cold weather, they couldn't tell you when, They gave us a time frame to minus 48 hours, but he could have been by himself for 3, 4, 5 days before anybody knew it. They don't know, and that's the danger of when it's not intentional.
Yeah,
because it's easy.
Yeah,
it's easy for us to get busy in our own lives.
Yes,
I got 5 brothers, 5 sisters. I'm horrible with telephones, and if anybody feel a way about me, it's with my family. It's intentional. It's not intentional, but it became easy.
Right.
I set alarms to call my mom because I'll forget.
Yeah, I'm with you. Whatever it take, though.
Right. And the thing is, most of the time, and because I got a big family, we have a lot of funerals. But we lose each other. It becomes important. And I'm pretty sure if we've been at a funeral, man, I ain't seen you since we were 15. We got to do this again. We can't let 10 years go by before we talk again. We got to hang out. We got to do a family.
You always say that, right?
We got to do a fishing trip. Man, I miss good seeing y'all.
Something.
Talk is cheap.
Right. But you know what I realized too? With that, and I'm imploring anybody that's listening to me right now, listen. The next time that funeral talk happens, like you coming together, take down some numbers and just call each other. Like forget the trips, forget coming together because we all busy. Everybody's schedule. My August is free, but your August is busy. My December gets free, but if you're in retail, my December gets very busy. So put together call.
Go hard though.
Right, and just get on a group call. Like, yo, we're gonna zoom. Here's a text. Let's go. Like you have no reason not to be on. So just
we did that. My family did that a few months back. Was it a few months ago? We scheduled a Zoom call.
Nice.
My mom, my aunties, my cousins, and it was hilarious and awkward at the same time. Right. Because my children are on the phone and there's all this crosstalk.
Right.
Whose baby is that right there? Well, that's my son, or that's my daughter, that's my wait, y'all, hold on. And then I realized, oh man, maybe this Zoom call was not such a good idea.
I love black people.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was really crazy.
Just cause.
But you also saw the people who were uncomfortable. Right? The ones who sitting there not saying anything, just watching.
Really? Wow.
Facts.
You saw the one who, was on the phone on the call, but they didn't have their face on. They just walking around, and you could see the camera moving all over the place. They're on, but they're not present.
Right.
They like this. Got the phone
Yeah.
like this. You can't see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, but what I'm saying is, as uncomfortable as that was, it was still an absolutely fantastic experience.
Right.
Facts.
Because it happened, and because it plants a seed of communication, right?
Yes.
You've exposed yourself to someone
Yes.
that people were able to see family resemblances that shocked them. Oh, she looked just like Auntie Myrtle. Oh, she looked,
Right.
and that's the stuff that was amazing that happened. And so I would agree with what you're saying, AD. You have to do that. I'm guilty like you, Dwayne. I'm horrible with communication. People, it's funny. People say I talk too much. I'm always running my mouth, and I feel like I'm horrible with communication. And here's how I know. I found out that if I don't call people, they're not gonna call me.
Why I gotta be on you though? Why I gotta be on you? I feel the same way.
I'm just saying. Well, you ain't called me. Well, okay, yeah, you're right. I haven't. But when you thought about the fact that you hadn't spoken to me, you could have called.
You called me, right?
And we go back and forth with that. But why didn't you call me? Why didn't you call me? And and I can't. I know everybody's busy. But I said this about leaders. Y'all, everybody talking about my pastor didn't call me. Well, your pastor got 1,000 people to call, and he got to remember you. But he's only one person that you need to call.
Right. That's good.
Call your pastor.
Look,
Right. There you go.
That Zoom call.
That's number 5 right there.
You like how I slid that in there?
You got to throw that in there. I met my auntie on my daddy's side for the first time in life on a Zoom call during Corona. And not only did she look at me and was like, wow, I see my brother. She saw my two kids that nobody had saw because of COVID, Bella and Ella. And she's seeing her brother that's no longer here. She's meeting his son and her nieces and nephews for the first time ever.
Crazy.
It's a beautiful thing, and it's worth it. It's worth it knowing where you come from, who you come from, what's inside of you, because sometimes there's things dormant that you have zero idea until you see it in somebody else.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, so I ain't the only one that can do this.
Right.
I'm smarter than the siblings on my mom's side. I'm no capping, no throwing shade, but like our intellectual levels are they're different.
Sound pretty shady.
Yeah, but it's the truth. Like I was the first one to graduate out of my mom's children. All of my dad's children graduated. Right. Like, so when I met my father's side of the family, I was like, oh, I got a cousin in the Air Force that's a colonel with 15 years in. I wish I'd knew this when I was in the Army, when I was a sergeant, and he a colonel. Like little things like that. It's like, oh, y'all all fix stuff and know how to build stuff. I thought I was just good with my hands. They're like little things.
Listen, I found out when I was going to South Carolina State University, one of the presidents of the South Carolina State, at one point was one of our cousins. I was all excited, and she's like, no, don't ever mention that because he did a horrible job. don't ever talk about it. I'm letting you know. Don't ever let nobody know that you're related to him.
That's good.
I was like, okay.
But he made it to the position.
But he made it.
He made it.
Right. No, he's part of the legacy, but you don't want to talk
about Donald Trump was the president.
They're talking about Jimmy Carter too.
He's somebody cousin.
No one will ever be able to take that away from him.
They tried.
And until Donald Trump, I think that Jimmy Carter was the worst president as far as what allegedly what they say, what I think, what I believe.
But worse than Nixon?
I don't know. Yeah, I've heard Jimmy Carter name thrown on the bus a couple of times. I'm like,
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy not in my top five.
See,
but
the problem with Jimmy Carter is Jimmy Carter wasn't witty.
Okay.
Yeah. He was rock and roll.
He was a simple-minded guy, and people hated it.
Georgia peanut farmer. That's what they try to make it out.
He still teaches about
Grenada happened, and he never ever recovered.
Gotcha.
Didn't he have a piece of corn with Israel? Yeah, he was the
president.
Yeah. Right. Interesting.
And it didn't help that he was a peanut farmer.
Yeah.
right. Just made him even simpler. Right.
Yeah.
Jimmy in my top 10 though, because he saved. He's in my top 10.
Well, think about it. Think about this. Jimmy Carter became more popular after his presidency.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
And every time historical figures come together, Jimmy Carter was part of the crew.
Jimmy didn't run a second time. He only had one term, right?
Oh no.
I don't remember. I can't. I don't remember him running a second. Yeah, I can't remember.
I feel like he was one term. Then I think Reagan came.
Right.
Is Reagan in your top 10?
It was one time. It was one and done.
Reagan is going to be in anybody's top 10.
I gotta write my top 10 down. See how many Republicans get up in there.
Y'all saying top 10 worst or top 10 best?
Top 10 best.
Oh
yeah, Abe. Abe
top 10 most impacting or most influential.
Okay, I give you Abe.
Okay. Abe, the number one Republican all time.
To that terminology.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you got to think. There is a term called Reaganomics, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's
a whole lot of black people even poor.
Well,
trickle down, baby.
All right, we're gonna get out of here because this conversation about to take another turn. So appreciate you guys. It's Friday, Freestyle Friday. Yes, we didn't have a lot of fun initially, but we wanted to cover something serious as well as listen. Today's message, if you've not got anything out of this, is about covering. It's about connecting to your village. If you are not connected to a village right now, you need to connect. Yeah. This would be the time I would plug connecting to our village. Connect with us.
Simple. Just come on out.
Yes,
call your pastor.
Yes, and call your pastor. Call your pastor. And make sure you stay connected to our community. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576. And yes, you need a physical community, at least someone that you can connect to and talk to and call. Definitely if you're in the Georgia area around, even if you're in another state, connect with Solomon's Temple online. Send messages. He'll send messages back. And stay connected. Real talk. Stay connected because you don't want to isolate yourself.
If you die, have somebody that can bury you.
That's it right there.
And take this one on the road with you. Take this one on the road with you. Make sure you got clean underwear because you never know what's going to happen. You might get in an accident.
Yeah.
It's a shame to have a stranger bury you.
Yeah. Dwayne, tell him about the stab thing again, bro. Tell him. What's it? Turn it like start the ignition. Yeah, man. We're giving all kind of advice today.
But all of you out there in TV land, please promise me this one thing.
Yes, indeed.
Don't fake your death like LeBron fakes being injured.
Come, all right, cut it off.
See, I thought we could get out. See, you almost got out of here.
Cut it off.
Wow.
Ephraim, this man is the man.
Ephraim, listen, he got Space Jam 2.
Look at Cheryl's comment.
What's up? What'd she say?
Character
still matters. Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
Character still matters. Ephraim, he got Space Jam 2, so he's taking Jordan's spot. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
All right, we're gonna go.
I bet it's
we ain't talking about the
one.
fake Jordan in this show, AD.
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys rocking with us and hanging with us, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week, same time, same place. Know that we love you, but God loves you more. Make sure you guys watch Space Jam 2 when it comes out. We'll see you next week. I didn't want to catch that. Good morning. Welcome to another edition. Good morning. What's up, everybody? This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. Ready to go live? Go to bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. That's bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. This episode is also brought to you by Self. Build credit now. Go to bit.ly/now build credit. bit.ly/now build credit.